Good morning. And welcome to First Parish Church of Groton. I'm Donna Nowak. My pronouns are she and her. I am on the Caring Committee and the Prison Ministry Committee here at church. And anything else that somebody grabs me and says, Donna, can you help? We are a community seeking to deepen spiritually, to take care of one another, and to be a blessing to the world. Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all, so bring all of who you are, all of your beliefs, identities, abilities, challenges, and gifts. Bring all of what you've been and all of what you've done. There's room here for all. We're not concerned about the sounds that the children or Lars or anybody else might make during the service, and we hope that you won't be either. Today, we welcome church member Chris Ceylon to the pulpit. Throughout her life, Chris has lived in 13 homes and worked in 7 schools, and has experienced many different forms of welcoming. Recently, she's explored this topic in depth and has reflections and observations to share. Our congregation includes a wide diversity of beliefs, and we know we don't need to think alike to love alike. We invite you to freely translate the language that you hear today. We've also learned through the pandemic that our sanctuary is not in this room or any place at all. Sanctuary is what we create together. Please come in and rest a while. You are so welcome here. And now, if you would like, please take a moment to turn and say hello to those sitting near you. Otherwise, feel free to sit in quiet contemplation before the service begins.
Good morning.
Want me to lift you up?
And hello and welcome to any of you taking this in online. I'm so glad you found us whenever you happen to be watching it. Welcome.
You are loved and chosen and welcome. No matter what a mess you have made out of things, no matter how broken or unworthy you sometimes feel. I'm sorry if anyone ever tried to tell you that you don't belong, or that you weren't sacred, or that you weren't loved. Those were lies. You are beloved and sacred, and life is hard and magical and mean. It's hilarious and unfair and wild, and we are in it together. And you are more than welcome here. You are needed and wanted and treasured. Come, let us worship together.
invite you to settle into your body more fully. Remind you that you are whole. You belong wholly upon this earth. And you are held in love that holds us all in tenderness. With each bell, I invite you to breathe in and release, or close your eyes and then open them. The first bell is for you. The second is for your loved ones. And the third is for the world. Please stand as you're able and let's sing Come Sing a Song With Me, number 346 in your gray hymnal.
This little light of ours, we're going to let it shine. In or out of church, we're going to let it shine. Up and down the aisle, we're going to let it shine. So some years ago, thanks to Donna Nowak, I got trained to be a facilitator in our prison ministry program called Alternatives to Violence, ABP. We go into the Shirley medium security prison, not very far from here, but not in our lives a lot. We go in for a weekend of decision-making and exercises with a group of incarcerated men. We call them the guys, they call them the incarcerated men. We do things like, what do you do when you feel unempowered? What is it you want to remember to remember? They welcome us. And we have to convince them that we get as much out of our interactions as they do. To be welcomed by incarcerated men has been a privilege I could never have imagined. We, all of us, volunteers and prisoners, answer deep questions about our lives. We share. We don't fix. We create a covenant, and we try not to break it. In one group, answering the question, so what do you hope to get out of this weekend? One of the men said, I want to look in the mirror and see the face of a father my daughter can love. This prison ministry program that's used in many prisons has welcomed me into my hidden places. It's helped me to connect with those who are different, who sleep in different places, pray differently, with those who have made decisions that I haven't had to make. What I take with me after those weekends with ABP far exceeds what I get. So I wrote this, calling it Round the Edges. We humans vow to live lives that add, not subtract, to live lives that match our intentions, to live lives soft with letting go, rather than hurling words which require apologies. In synagogues, temples, churches, mosques, shuls, tabernacles, we make those promises to ourselves and to anyone who will listen. And we can decide that all the vows and promises are worthwhile intentions. And we are all free to simply engage with life, to be generous with our imaginations and our time, to notice the daily, mundane, exquisite events right in front of us or right beside us. We can pour mindful welcoming into huge mugs and offer them to each other. We can snuggle up to warm words of acceptance and shower them down on the ones that we care about. And we can do it again tomorrow and the next day. I've lit the chalice for connections, authentic acceptance, for and with all of us.
Thank you, Barbara. I'd like to invite Max Waters to come up and light the peace candle today. Each Sunday morning, we light a peace candle to remind us that we live in a time of war and that there is violence in so many places in the world. May everyone around the globe feel safe and strong and free and loved. Please remain seated and join in singing Carolyn Dade's song, Spirit of Life. The words are in your order of service.
Good morning. My name is Lee Kinby. I am serving as sabbatical minister. My pronouns are they, them, their. And I would like to invite anyone who wants to come forward for our Time for All Ages. Small or otherwise, you are welcome to come forward. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Matt. Hi, Abby. Hi, Mason. Hi, Coraline. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Cynthia. Hello. Hi, Rebecca. All right. Hi, Sophia. So does anybody know what tomorrow is? The first day of spring! Which means today is the last day of winter, and it's reminding us that it's really winter, right? Today is also Rebecca's birthday! Woo! Anyone else have a birthday today? March birthdays?
I do.
Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear March babies. Happy birthday to you. Fabulous. Our story today is called The Big Umbrella. And it is really a story about a very, very big umbrella. I didn't really plan out this microphone book thing very well, did I?
Can I hold?
All right. Sure, you can hold it. As long as I can see the words. I was planning on reading upside down, so here we go, it's easier. By the front door, there's an umbrella. Anybody have an umbrella in their house? Yeah, good. It is big. It is a big, friendly umbrella. It's even got a smiley face. I know, right? I think I might take a Sharpie to my umbrella. It likes to help. So it helps in rain or leaves. I guess if you don't want leaves in your hair, or even sun. Yeah. Some people have to stay out of the sun because they get burned. It likes to spread its arms wide. Did you know umbrellas had arms? This one does. It loves to give shelter. Yeah, that's one kind of shelter, right? Under an umbrella. Yeah. That is a very big, happy umbrella. It loves to gather people in. Okay. So what are we noticing about this umbrella? Let's see. Yeah, it's getting bigger. It gets bigger, right? Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter if you are tall. So I could fit under there? I don't know. We've got a bird that we can't even see the top of here. How are we going to do this? Let's see. Oh, it just fits. Or hairy. I guess you can be hairy at the end of there too. All right. All right. Or plaid. You can be plaid. You can wear flowers. You can wear llamas. You've got llamas on your shirt. Cool. You can wear trains on your shirt or a sleeping fox. Okay, it doesn't matter how many legs you have. Okay, this one has 4. I guess that can go under there too. This is a really magic umbrella. It is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. Okay. Okay, some people worry that there won't be enough room under the big umbrella. I don't know, I'm not really worried about that umbrella, are you? No, it seems to just do the trick. Yeah, it's getting really, really big. Huge even. Oh, but the amazing thing is, there's always room. All right. I don't have a spell for umbrellas that works quite like that one does, but I wonder if it stands for something. Okay, so there it is. We're as big as the sky at this point, right? I think there's one more page. There we go. Yeah, there's always room. All right. So what do we think that means? What do we think that means? I'm going to invite Donna and Chris to come forward because we have a little umbrella to play with here. All right. So let's see if we can get this to work. Okay, like I said, I'm sorry, I tried to study to get the spell to make it bigger, but it didn't work. But we're going to make it bigger another way. You want to help me? Come on, Leo, hold this with me. Okay, let's see if Chris and Donna can put the spell on it to make it bigger. Who all will fit under here? Chris, do you want to grab your end of it? Donna, you want to grab your end? Who wants to fit under here with us? Me and Leo and who? Everybody. Okay, we're going to make it bigger. They're going to make it bigger. Oh, and bigger.
You can come this way.
Oh,
And bigger.
Pull it, Chris, pull it.
Come this way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah. And it's even got lights on it, huh? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what do we think the umbrella stands for here? What do you think it means? Yeah, go ahead, Zoe.
That everyone can be accepted.
That everyone can be accepted. That's a good idea. Yeah. Anybody else got an idea?
Inclusion.
Inclusion. Yeah.
We love you.
Oh, I love you too, Leo. Yeah, it kind of means that, right? Like we love each other, right? And everybody can fit under there. And we'll pretend that this umbrella can get as big as the one in the book. And that's what it means to be welcome here at church. Like everybody, right? Cool. All right. We're going to sing you all off to go downstairs. Macy has something to say.
No, I don't.
Big sister called him out. All right. Thank you. Woo! All right. So we're going to sing you off downstairs to go to your class. Abby, do you want to take the kids' chalice?
fabulous special day for me because I took this group of congregants through learning how to write a sermon, and they signed on to meet 8 Friday nights for 3 hours a night. That's a big chunk to chew off. 5 of them made it through, and Chris is the brave one who's going first today, and I just am so excited. Part of it was about setting myself up for this sabbatical time so I don't have to write every week. I sort of pre-did the work. So. Last Sunday we talked about prayer, and there are some prayers up on the plywood windows. We didn't dive into all the layers of prayer, of course, and certainly we didn't dive into song as prayer. But some songs, I think, can be both prayer and blessing simultaneously. A nigun is a wordless religious melody that's part of the cultural heritage of Ashkenazi Eastern European Jews. So communities across Eastern Europe over hundreds of years developed their own nigunim, and others are composed. They're composed by songwriters. I studied Jewish klezmer music for 5 years with Eileen Stahl, and I learned lots of nigunim on the clarinet. And every year I traveled to Poland, to Krakow and Oswiecim, to go on a retreat with the Zen peacemakers at Auschwitz-Birkenau for 10 days. And the first year I did that, I went to the Ruth synagogue in Krakow, and I learned this nigun from Teama Shir, who was the Jewish clergy on that trip that year. It was written actually in that synagogue, and I want to share it as the opening of our prayer this morning. From the Krakow Nuken. God of many names, many understandings, one embracing love. We gather in this sacred time and place with all that invests our lives with depth, with possibility, with struggle, with loss, with hope, with joy. We hold in our collective prayers of healing, our prayers of love and gentle grace, Lois Young, whose sister Hope died recently. We hold the family of Genesis, who was a former classmate of my son Lars at the Perkins School for the Blind. She was a student of Lisa Martino's, and she died this week. We hold in collective prayer Leah G., who's part of our virtual community, and who had to have a second surgery this week for retinal detachment. We hold Fran B, and David, and Bob N, and Nancy B, and Lorraine S, and Stephanie, and Mary Ann, and everyone else who's coping with health challenges. We send our prayers of strength and love to people living with mental illness, to all our loved ones who are facing the deep challenge of addiction, to those who are incarcerated. And we breathe here together on the precipice of spring,
There was something so wild and cold in the howling of the wind this morning. As we approach this vernal equinox, there's just no point opposing the wildness. The stirring inside that sends tender, vulnerable green shoots up through our cold earth, up to face who knows what. And we know there's no point opposing the wildness that stirs inside us, that sends us out, questioning and pushing the edges of comfort and sense, sends us out to face who knows what. May we feel the truth that we have inherited as animals, truth unrelated to thought, and so much faster. Truth in our reach for love and comfort, for protection and tenderness, and truth in the wild stirring that sends us forth. The astounding legacy we've inherited in the cumulative wisdom of spring. Listen. The wind is howling, and what howls in you howls for release. As the world is created anew, once again. Let's enter the sweet fertility of silence. During sabbatical, we're taking time each week to talk about the proposed 8th principle of Unitarian Universalism. We covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. The 8th principle is a grassroots effort. It was authored by Paula Cole-Jones and Bruce Pollock Johnson 10 years ago. More than 230 UU congregations have adopted it. And the thing is that Unitarian Universalists have a mixed record historically on racial justice. We had people on both sides of abolition, and some Unitarians supported eugenics. For people who identify as white in the world, it can be too easy to ignore these issues, or to think they don't apply here, or that we are doing just fine. And that's what actually keeps the systems of racism in our society alive and worsening. And if this is all pretty new to you, I get it. 8th principle, what? If it's confusing, I get it. So where do you typically turn when you're confused? When I'm not sure about my position on something within Unitarian Universalism, I go first to the identity-based coalitions. They're almost always united on issues of power and oppression. In this case, every single one of those identity coalitions is calling on us to adopt the 8th principle. DRUM, which is Unitarian Universalist's oldest people of color collective. BLUE, which is Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. TRUST, which is the Trans Unitarian Universalist Religious Professionals Group. Equal Access is about Unitarian Universalists Living in Disabilities Coalition, and the Allies for Racial Equity. All the groups are asking congregations, just like ours, and ours, to step up and engage in deep learning about racial justice. The eighth principle has not been shepherded through from above. This is not about Unitarian Universalist Association leadership. In fact, Drum and Blue and all the other organizations have expressed their disappointment that it hasn't been shepherded through. The eighth principle adds accountability to the other seven principles. That's some of the heart of what it does. It asks us to honor each other's humanity and our capacity for growth. And to do that by offering ourselves and each other both grace and accountability, side by side. And that's why your racial justice team and your ministers support the adoption of the eighth principle. And more importantly, the ongoing work of racial justice that it asks of us. So at this time, I'd like to invite Gary Madison up. Gary became a member here 9 months ago.
Good morning. I'm Gary Madison. I use the pronouns he, him. I'm delighted to be a new member in this amazing congregation. I'm also brand new to your stewardship program as of this year. When my wife Risa and I first moved out into this beautiful area years ago, the big question looming in our minds at the time was, how do we start to build a sense of community out here? We looked around at our new property. We saw trees in all directions. Beyond the trees, there were even more trees. So we decided, well, let's call the one person that we know west of I-495, which was our friendly real estate agent, and ask her, how do we start to build relationships in this brand new world that we now call home? And our real estate agent was very sweet about it all. She really did give a tremendous amount of thought to our deep question. And at the end, she said, you know, I've seen 3 ways that young couples like you are able to build connections and relationships as they move out here. The first way, she said, is to have a kid. Well, we weren't ready for that yet. The second way, she said, was get a dog. And we weren't quite sure we were even ready for that level of responsibility yet. And the third way she shared was, well, you can volunteer Saturday mornings at the town dump. Well, I'm a service kind of guy, so the town dump sounded pretty good to me. Of course, what she missed was that there is a fourth way, and that is to discover the incredible warmth and love and community that exists right here at First Parish. Risa and I are just so delighted to have discovered all of you. We love your Sunday services. We can chat forever at your coffee hours afterwards. We love your game nights, we love your movie nights. But most importantly, we just love the opportunity to be able to deepen spiritually and to start to build lifetime relationships with all of you. So when we heard that First Parish had a need to start to bridge the gap that they were experiencing financially in meeting the operating budget through the end of June, we just knew we had to do whatever we could. And that's why we give. We really want to do everything we can to help ensure the long-term sustainability of this extraordinary congregation whose simple mission is to deepen spiritually, to care for one another, and to be a blessing to the world. I can't wait to chat with all of you at coffee hour afterwards downstairs. And thank you so much for welcoming us into this extraordinary, heartwarming community that we now call home. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Rise as you are able, and we're going to sing together. Here we have gathered, which is in your great hymnal, number 360.
Welcome. I stand here with the knowledge that welcoming each other is an integral part of who we are as Universalist Unitarians and as members of the First Parish Church of Groton. It is part of what draws us here, the knowledge that we will be welcomed. In my adult life, I've lived in 10 different homes and experienced almost every kind of welcome to the neighborhood that one can imagine. I've been welcomed by the welcome wagon lady with a basket full of coupons, welcomed by my across-the-way neighbor with blueberry muffins, the neighborhood kids warning me that our house was the best house for a flashlight tag, so it'd be really great if I had kids. I've had meetings over the mailbox or walking my kids to the first day of school, and one non-welcome where I lived for 2 years and literally met not one person despite what the welcome package in the condo mailbox said about the culture of the complex. What I've learned along the way is that welcome is a nuanced and relative word. That the perspective of the host and the newcomer is often very different, and that a deep welcome takes work, flexibility, empathy, and caring. Think back to a place you felt unwelcome. What made you feel unwelcome? What one small move could that community that you were joining have made to change your experience? Did your feelings of unwelcome change over time? Keep those thoughts in mind as we share the next 10 minutes exploring the idea of being a welcoming community. As a UU church, one of our greatest missions
is the formation of community. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. Each week, our pews are likely home to friends with beliefs that range from atheist to Christian, Jewish, agnostic, Buddhist, Wiccan, very unsure, but searching, humanist, and to some, I'm sure I have left out. We are straight, queer, choosing not to choose. We're happy, sad, mourning, in the light of new love, from big families and small, suffering from trauma or not. We are of many ages, socioeconomic status. We have different family stories, medical challenges, worries about loved ones, and political ideologies. But we choose to come together and welcome each other in a community. And so it behooves us to check in periodically and see how are we doing towards the goal of being a welcoming community, a safe and sheltering place to rest and be gladly received. Thinking about ourselves as a welcoming community is not only for the new friends who come in the door for the first time. We are not a monolith, no matter how similar we appear when we look around the room. So, how do we make a welcoming home for everyone, even those of us who continue to attend each week, year after year? How do we provide a welcome to so many different stories when each of us is carrying shifting joys, victories, challenges, and waits in the door with us each week? How do we make the room for re-welcoming the new versions of old friends who have emerged from those that have experienced expanded or contracted families, life-threatening illnesses, and events that change us forever? Let's start with welcoming in its simplest form, a greeting, a smile. Someone who warmly says, "Hello, we're glad you joined us today." Mother Teresa says, "We will never know all the good that a simple smile can do." Scientists have found that it can reduce stress, help heart health, lower your blood pressure, and boost your immune system. But are there chances to go beyond that simple emergent form of welcoming? Feel a deeper welcoming that means feeling seen. Feeling seen. What does it mean to feel seen? My family is what I call bi-religious. I'm a non-Christian Christian, and my husband is Jewish. As young ones, our children were raised Jewish. Over the years, they experienced everything from discrimination to various levels of welcome. When I recently asked them when they felt seen or unseen in school as Jewish children, one answered that they were unseen when their teachers gave them homework over the Jewish holidays. Basically, this issue revolves around the fact that as Jewish children, they spent the holiday worshiping in temple or celebrating with their large family at gatherings, while the non-Jewish kids had a free day, thus giving the non-Jewish kids more time to complete their assignments. Every year, I'd have to go into the schools and argue with their teachers about these assignments. Yet very few teachers understood. It surprised me that these injustices stayed with my children well into their 40s. The act and process of welcoming is well studied. Organizations that focus on creating welcoming communities make recommendations that help communities move beyond the emergent greeting to a deeper and inclusive welcome. The first step is to know your membership. In order to welcome somebody, you need to know them. Not just what you think you know, but about your neighbors, but what you don't know. If these teachers had taken the time to know what Jewish children were doing on that day off, how different they were from their peers on those days, they could have made them feel seen with the simple adjustment to those homework assignments. When I was growing up, the holidays were very traditional in my home. The timing of events, the cousins, aunts, and uncles I'd see, the food that I'd see on the table were very predictable from year to year. Until one Thanksgiving, when creamed onions showed up on the table. I didn't know what they were. I asked my mom in the kitchen what was the gooey white stuff, and she simply explained that my brother-in-law, my new brother-in-law, always had them at his Thanksgiving, and so she had made them for him. This was my first introduction into a more inclusive welcome. An act I saw repeated by my mother as new family members were added over the years. And holiday traditions around food on the menu were expanded to meet the "what is the holiday to you" standard set by my mother. It's a standard that I have adopted into my own home. She took the time to ask how new members would feel more at home, more included, more welcome through their food. Building on this trust, inclusive, welcoming communities ensure the safety of a newly included. What does it take to make a member feel more included? There's more than one answer. The answer lies in knowing the newcomer, with understanding the perspective and the culture of the new member. We can increase our welcoming environment by making our diversity more visible. I think of this when I go to the library in the morning with my granddaughter. I look around the room and I realize she is the only black child in the room, and I'm the only gray-haired lady in the room. But I'm grateful that the library has made a serious effort to increase their collection of books that represent her race and culture, her beautiful hair and skin. There are books there that display and illustrate many kinds of families, and they say, "Welcome to diverse children and their adults." Finally, inclusive, welcoming communities set high expectations for themselves. They are ready to learn and grow around welcoming. They are willing to think of simple steps towards change and question their existing practices. What if we added, "Is there anything I can do to make your time with us easier?" Is there someplace special you'd like to sit? To our welcoming at the door. Can I introduce you to the people in your row as we help folks find a seat? One congregation I read about experimented with expanding the job of welcome greeters at the door, expanding that job to include everyone in the congregation. Every congregant can be a part of this level of welcoming. Smiling at members as they come in and sit down is a simple way to expand welcoming, asking us to move out of our niches as we gather with old friends week to week and welcome each other more broadly, aside from that designated welcoming in the service. My daughter Jenna attended the Quaker Meeting House for a few years to support my grandchild who had joined the Friends Youth Community. Jenna told me about how weekly she would attend the coffee hour after the Quaker meeting, waiting for my grandchild. She would stand off to the side, feeling like she didn't really belong, but invariably, someone would come up to her and introduce themselves to chat. She'd demur and explain that she was just here with her daughter, but they would always engage her in conversation, introduce her to someone interesting, and make her welcome, week after week, never pursuing her for membership, just making them feel welcome in their presence. As principal of Brookfield School in Connecticut, My school participated in an evaluation that was required of every school in Connecticut called a welcoming walkthrough. It was designed to assess how welcoming our school was to diverse populations. Over the course of 2 months, 16 members of our community and staff looked at our school community from top to bottom, inside and out, and produced a 75-page report, netting 10 major recommendations that would make our school more welcoming. We were, by and large, considered a welcoming school, and small changes were asked of us. But as I look back now, I see this as a lost opportunity. Our mistake was that we never moved on to a transformative welcome. Our changes were positive, communicating in multiple languages, increasing signage, seeking ways to include more parents. But what I never understood was that to deeply welcome families, we would have to know them, not simply seek to have them know us. Not simply seek to have them understand us. Let me say that again. We needed to understand them, not just have them understand us. We missed the little things that would have added up. In the years since that experience, I've been exposed to so many stories that I didn't recognize as stories of welcome, but that I now see were all about being seen and welcome in some space that would have taught me about a true welcome. I've seen news reports about whole neighborhoods that took weekly sign language classes after a deaf child moved in, and his joy as he walked down the street and could engage in conversation with the people around him. And a mom on Twitter that sent out a heartfelt thank you to the teacher in her child's class that provided her with a Band-Aid that matched her beautiful brown skin. And again, brought that child in her classroom joy. I think of the multitude of videos on the internet of little girls seeing heroines of color for the first time and saying, "She looks like me." How many students in my school sat and watched videos on rainy days and saw only their friends as the heroine? How many students in my school went to the nurse and left with a bright peach-colored Band-Aid covering their precious brown skin? These are real changes that, as the principal of the school, I could have made to welcome children into our school life. Changes that would have meant so much more than the balloons I spent so much time blowing up on the first day of school to welcome children back from the summer. Have you ever read a book or seen a quote that perfectly sums up an observation you were having or feeling? Those words that you wish you had said. Recently, I came across a story that so perfectly explains what I want to say to you this morning that I'm going to share it with you. First, I have to explain a little bit about its author, Alec Capitan. Alec's preferred pronouns are Z, her. Alec works with the UU, Welcoming Congregation Program, and tells the story of the welcome that Z received when joining the Boston Gay Men's Chorus as a trans man. Unsure that Z belonged as a trans man, Z contacted the leadership of the group ahead and was told that Z absolutely belonged. Still, Alec went to the first rehearsal with some trepidation. Like all members of the group, Z was welcomed that first evening by the entire chorus. But that night, Alec says, I not only found myself welcomed, but held. But the welcome, the real welcome, didn't end there. A month later, the director of the chorus came to Alec and asked how it was going. Was there anything the leadership could do to make Alex experience better. A month later, the same contact, the same question. And years later, the leaders of the chorus continue to seek out barriers to Alex's inclusion and get rid of them because they recognize that welcome is not a one and done thing. Alec writes, "This experience of welcome has changed my life. It has given me the feeling of ease in my own skin that I have never felt anywhere else. It has helped me to be even more of myself." I share this story because it envelops the spirit of a deep welcome. Alec felt seen. The weight of becoming welcomed was borne by the group, not by Alec. The weight of getting to know and understand Alec was actively borne by the leaders of the chorus. If there were barriers, they asked Alex how they could help her. It is more than fair to say that this is a welcoming place, this place we hold so dear, as was the Friendship Hall and the Boston Gay Men's Chorus. But like them, let us think about the work of welcoming as an ongoing and evolving process as we strive to see that every member of our congregation feels seen and safely held. Let me leave you with a poem by Simon Duffy. Welcome means, it seems, when you come, we will see you well, see you safe at last, see you are made welcome. Please rise as you are able for our closing hymn, Go in Peace. Words are in your order of service.
invite you to place one hand over your heart, and with the other reach out and experience each other. We are woven together across time and space and pixels, across relationship, across love. Go in peace, be a blessing to the world.